party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else!
We don't want to know!
We're dedicated here
To our favorite shows!
Oh, my circuit!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad!
Scary dog!
Dancing at Blurnsville!
Futurama!
Good evening. You are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting Premier Podcast TV Party tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And if you're wondering why I'm taking such deep breaths, because I am way congested and just want to get through this so I can go to bed. Take mad drugs and go to bed. Our favorite show tonight is Halo, kind of. Brought to you by the good people.
That's a lie.
Brought to you by, shut up, David. Brought to you by the good people at Showtime Networks, 343 Industries, Amblin Television, Chapter 11, which that has dual meanings, One Big Picture, and Paramount Plus. Halo, or known as Halo the Series, is an American military science fiction television series developed by Kyle Killen and Stephen Kane for the streaming service Paramount Plus, based on the video game franchise of the same name. It stars Pablo Schreiber of season 2 of The Wire fame, Jen Taylor, Bokeem Woodbine, and Charlie Murphy, and other people whose names I don't recognize. But names I do recognize. My good friends, first, he insisted we do this even after I tried to bail out at least twice. Ladies and gentlemen, my man who loves the science fiction, David Wright. How do you do, sir?
I watched this show for the podcast. Damn it, we're going to do the podcast.
Spoken like a man after my own heart. And speaking of man after my own heart, ladies and gentlemen, the misfit and miscreant himself, the dungeon master, Ronnie Adams. How do you do, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I told you how I was doing.
I know.
Right.
It's habit, and I'm here, and we're doing Halo. Just give me a break.
We're just so polite.
I'll do my best. So, David, you a big fan of the game?
I would say I wouldn't quite say fan, but I would say I appreciate the games. Like, okay. I think I always really like the art design for Halo. I think it's just a great looking series. Like the design of the armors, the aliens, the settings, I think is all great. The music, especially from the first 3 games, absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best video game soundtracks ever written. Most Halo I played with Andrew, my friend and yours. You know, we do co-op on his Xbox, play through all the games, and I eventually tried some of them when they eventually came out for PC. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like I've read a couple of the books. Like I would say, like I'm familiar enough with what's going on in Halo, but I am certainly not deeply entrenched in the lore.
Okay.
But I know what a Spartan is. I know what the Forerunners are, what a Halo is. You know, I can find my way around.
So I've never played this game at all, Ronnie. Not even a little bit. Wow. I don't think I've ever played it once. I remember my wife telling me that like her and her friends back in like high school linked up a bunch of Xboxes, and like there was like 20 of them playing on one television.
LAN party, baby.
Yeah, I guess that's what that is. Yeah, nothing like that at all. I've never played Halo in my life. How about you?
Yes. Started on Halo. Halo 2 was my very first ever midnight release. Mm-hmm. Stood in the mall and waited for that, and I was like, wow, I'll get the game and go home and play now. That's it. So played till 6 a.m. Regretted it. I mean, like Halo's always been there for me as long as I can remember. If you don't have anything to play, there's always Halo. Okay. And that's just how I've always seen it. I've been to LAN parties. I've been to it's fun. I'm like David. I'm not entrenched in the lore and everything. I know what things are. I know who Master Chief is, and all this other stuff. So
you know that Dr. Halsey is not an original character, though she may as well be.
Yeah, now that one I didn't know, but okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I don't know. It's just to me like it's a fun game. I'm not nothing I'm going to get too deep into.
So, David, back to you. When they announced that they were doing a Halo series, what were your expectations?
Basically just a Halo series. Like, I was just expecting like running, shooting, Halo stuff happening, like
teabagging.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone tried to work it in there somehow.
I was really shocked that they didn't.
Yeah, it was almost like finally, because they've been trying to do like a Halo movie, TV show, pretty much since the first game came out, and they've had like all sorts of people from all over Hollywood and the entertainment industry attached to it and unattached to it, and I don't know how or why, but apparently this was the team that someone said, yes, these people have got the right idea.
Well, that
person needs to be fired.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because I don't know anything about the game. Like I said, I never played it, so I can't judge the series based on the game. I can only tell you that the series, I mean, I know that like you're a guy in a suit of armor with a machine gun and you run around and you shoot aliens.
That's pretty much the game.
Okay.
The important parts.
So the show opens up with a bunch of aliens, mercilessly attacking this village, and then the Halo people show up.
Yeah.
Spartans, I guess.
Yeah.
And they kill the aliens, and then nothing happens for the next 8 episodes.
Just about.
I don't. Is that how the game works, David? I don't understand.
No, this is a prequel to the game. Like the game starts off when they actually get to the aforementioned Halo.
Mm-hmm.
We've got this big ring. There's like one of our Earth ships. There's one Covenant ship. Hi, Jonas. And like the human ship gets destroyed. They have to crash land on Halo. So you are the lone surviving Spartan. So you've kind of got to go get everyone together, start mounting a resistance. The Covenant are after you, and you're trying to figure out what the heck this Halo ring is and what it's all about. And other things start happening. And yeah, that's basically the first game, Halo.
I just shot things and make things explode.
Yeah, so this is them trying to come up with stuff for people to do before Halo happens.
Okay. Let me give you my first impressions of this series. Pablo Schreiber, he was second season of The Wire, and then he was also, I think, Pornstache in Orange is the New Black. He's a great actor. Utterly misused in this. Like I don't know what the characters are like in the game, if that's what they were going for. Like he was supposed to be that stoic.
Master Chief is pretty stoic. He's a man of very few words, but every so often he comes up with a decent zinger. But he's definitely not a.
Keep going. I gotta.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Master Chief is. He's definitely not a catchphrase spouting, smirking, 80s action hero. He's more the quiet man with a gun that just goes around efficiently killing people. He's more John Wick than Schwarzenegger.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I can't really give Pablo whatever his Schreiber. Thank you. I was about to say Escobar, but no, that's not right.
Wrong guy.
As much as we complain about Americans' lack of cultural knowledge, you're not the only ones. Yeah. Yeah, like I can't really fault him for giving a pretty deadpan performance because, again, Master Chief, that's kind of the character. And I will cut them some slack that Master Chief is not the best character to kind of base a show around. You kind of need a lot of things happening for him to bounce off of.
Yeah.
Yep. So I don't know, Ronnie. Like, do you have any thoughts on Master Chief or the setup of the show?
No, you pretty much hit the nail on the head about everything I would have said about it.
Yeah, like Halo. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying Halo is a tough intellectual property to tackle with something like this. It's very tough. It's very if you get it wrong, people will absolutely murder you.
Yeah,
and it's. Oh my gosh. Boy, did they ever get it wrong after a while.
Yeah, I'd say like if you are someone who likes the story of Halo and the lore of Halo, you will hate this show.
All right, I'm sorry, I had to turn away for a second to tell my son to not eat his body weight in candy. So explain to me why, in vascular detail, in 50 words or less, why if you like the lore of Halo, you will hate this show, David.
Well, basically, there's a lot of things in the show that don't line up with the original lore.
Okay.
Like Dr. Halsey, who is not really in the game so much as she's in more like the novels and the supplementary material. She is not like some sort of evil, psychopathic, mad scientist.
She's the blonde broad, right?
Yeah, the blonde broad with the British accent.
Got
You
it.
know she's evil because
I love- as much as we can go into detail, Mark just goes, she's the blonde chick, right? The blonde broad.
yeah,
Yep, that's her.
that works. Yeah, like the whole what's her name, Mickey, or like the white haired chick, not Daenerys from Game of Thrones. She would not exist in the original lore. The Covenant do not keep humans as pets. They kill them right off the bat. Like that made no sense. Her being there, or any of that. It's.
And there's just a lot of things that don't make sense in it if you go by the lore. Like I said, I'm not deeply entrenched in it. Actually, David's very impressive. He knows more than I do.
Yeah,
you're welcome. You're interested.
So hang on. The broad's name is Natasha McElhone.
Yeah.
Who is also
you can go broad.
Yeah,
I
the character of Quan Ha does not exist at all in the original Halo games, and she may as well not exist in this show either, as far as I'm concerned. Like her story was completely superfluous to anything.
In our group, you've dealt with some pretty angry fans of comic book lore and things like that.
Yeah.
Just in our friend group.
Yeah, sure.
So imagine that and tweak it up about maybe 10 notches, and you got Halo fans.
So let me ask you, Ronnie.
Uh-huh.
I mean, have you been hearing? Because I haven't heard. By the time we got around to doing this, the show, I think the last episode aired May 19th. So we're like a month and a half late here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What was the buzz on this show from Halo fans? Were people like, "Fuck this show," or like, did you
pretty much is what I heard.
Okay.
I'm not steeped in Halo fan culture, but that's kind of what I heard from the outer edges. Is they were not happy.
They were not happy with this, and it's not just a simple, "Hey, I'm a fan." I'm not happy with how they misinterpreted the book. Blah 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 blah. No, this is just not good.
Yeah, I tried to I kind of got to the first episode, like, okay, yeah, like if I'm going to go bit by bit, lore by lore, is this faithful to the original? Yeah, it fails on that count already. So I'm gonna try and watch this as its own thing and appreciate it that way.
That's kind of
go ahead.
And Mark, while you stepped away, we and Ronnie were kind of going over a bit more of the sort of positives or the sort of the difficulties one would face in adapting Halo, and that the story is ultimately an excuse to shoot monsters with a gun.
But you would think that like an episodic television show where a guy in armor runs around and shoots aliens would not be this hard to make.
Yeah, I mean, the armor is cool, like powered combat armor, cyborg super soldiers,
right?
Awesome stuff.
Alien
space battles, like the Covenant, are such a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have this theocratic alliance of different alien species that for some reason really don't like humans and want to wipe us out. They have a massive technological advantage over us. So it's a ticking clock. We have to do whatever we can to survive, which raises some interesting moral questions. And it's also a great in-lore excuse for them to be unreasonable and have different enemy types for you to shoot at. Great idea. Like the Covenant are probably like my favorite part of Halo, the games. Whenever you fight any species or group other than the Covenant, I get bored very, very quickly.
So yeah, it does make me wonder why they went this route where the show seems to be, first of all, there's a lot of tired tropes in this show. Yeah, we have our lead character who, his whole life is a lie. He has to.
They didn't save you; they enslaved you, or something.
Yeah,
like
they
that.
have to. He has to unravel the mystery of his life and then turn against his masters. Ho hum, we've seen that before.
Yeah.
We have a mystery MacGuffin, an all-powerful mystery MacGuffin that we don't know what it does or how it works, but
that is fairly accurate to the games. Like a lot of the game is like, what is the Halo? Who built it? What does it do? Why did the Covenant want it?
And then you have and this is what I wanted to ask you about. I don't know how much of like the Quang, I think the character's name.
Quang Ha, I think it's something like that. Quang Hua.
Yeah, like how. And then she pals around with Bokeem Woodbine for a while. And I don't know how accurate to the game that is either.
Not at all. Like I don't think
Bokeem Woodbine is not in the game.
No. I mean, I appreciate that he actually looked like he was actually having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is kind of like my biggest complaint is like this show is just complete misery. Like everyone sucks, everyone is evil, everything's depressing.
Right.
You know, like they're like the games are about humanity trying not to be annihilated by an alien race of superior technology.
You would think,
and when you find out what Halo does, it gets even worse from there.
I was gonna say,
games are more cheerful than this show.
You would think a show about the human race trying to fight back against the Galactic Empire would be, fun to watch, but no. This is like you're either following Pablo Schreiber's Master Chief character, and I get stoic, but there's stoic, and then there's cardboard, and then you get the Bokeem Woodbine and Kwong characters, and they're okay. They've kind of got like a Han Solo Princess Leia thing going on, but then it focuses less on Bokeem Woodbine and more on her. And I don't know, about midway through the series, you just felt like she was yelling at a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, go ahead, Ronnie.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, before the Human Covenant War, there was this sort of insurgency thing with the UNSC. The UNSC isn't really delved deep into, at least in the first 3 games, as to what it is. Here, they've obviously gone with a fascistic dictatorship. Like whoever wrote this show, like I think we need to they need to get some help or something, because they apparently seem to hate the human race and everything it touches, and wish for its destruction, as near as I can tell. So the Spartans were originally created to deal with this insurgency, but then the Covenant showed up, and it was like, new plan. Let's not get all genocided. I don't so much mind the stuff that they used is. They do use the pieces of Halo to make this show, like the whole Spartans being kidnapped at birth and replaced with Flash clones. That is lore accurate, and that is a moral quandary, though not really one that it really gets deep into.
How would the game deal with that?
Yeah, it kind of just brushes it over. I think in the Halo animated anthology, there was a scene where one of the Spartans escaped and tried to go back to their family, but they saw them with the clone that was in a wheelchair dying, and then they realized that their place was with the Spartans. And the kids, they kind of just overall this is our life, we are soldiers. They're kidnapped when they were 6, so they need to be. Yeah, but certainly there was a bit of Captain Keyes was always sort of it was not his proudest moment being involved with the Spartan program in that way, but it was sort of viewed as sort of a necessary evil. But I mean, if you are going to adapt Halo into a show and you need some sort of source of drama, it's not an unreasonable angle to explore. I can't really give him heck for that. I do give him heck for when Master Chief and whatever the other one, the one that puts the gun grease in her hair, when they find it out, they're like, should we tell the other Spartans? No, we shouldn't tell them right now, so we can have a Spartan on Spartan fight in episode 7, because we were upset that we weren't told for this long. But to go get all the way back to Kwang Ho, I tangented there. I kind of the idea of giving Master Chief someone to bounce off of is a good one, though they kind of kick her out of that position pretty quick.
Episode 2.
Yeah. And then she just kind of yells at everyone, and despite everything she's doing being the worst idea ever, seems to succeed because the script says so. Really, she should have been killed at that vigil she went to, because if I was evil fascists taking over cleaning house, that would be the place I would make sure all my men were ready to infiltrate, to make sure that any last embers of resistance were exterminated. I did not like. I don't like it when you have characters that basically act stupid and succeed just because the story says so. There needs to be some element of consequence for your actions. And characters can by all means be flawed, can by all means fail, but then they learn from that and then they come back better in the end. And I just didn't like that. And what she did had no bearings on any of the other events of the show. I know they're setting up something where her family is involved with another artifact on the planet. You see her great ancestor talking to one of the guardians of the Halos, a 343 Guilty Spark, for those of you that are familiar with Halo. But other than that, it's we could have written out this entire plot line and lost nothing. I think it's basically there to meet some sort of producer's note and add 2 episodes to the episode count in the end. I mean, the only good thing is Bern Gorman shows up, and Bern Gorman's awesome.
So Ronnie, Dave's been going for a little while. What are some of your notes on the show?
He clearly did way more homework than I did.
Well, you're here. You wanted to talk about it.
That was back when I thought it was going to be good.
Oh my God, Ronnie. Contribute to the conversation, sir.
Cautionary
Listen,
tale.
listen. Don't dad me out here because I'm going to contribute. Okay.
Mhm.
The thing about it is like I'm not big. I wasn't that big into the lore of Halo. I like the games. I just wanted a sci-fi shoot 'em up. Aliens, maybe a little drama in there. It didn't matter to me, and I didn't get that at all. The first episode when they started blowing up teenagers, I was like, this is kind of awesome.
That is a rough opening scene, but I was like, oh, if this is what the show is, I'm into it.
Right. I'm completely sold. And then the show just went, rock bottom after that, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think we have a full on like Halo assault scene until what, episode 8 or 9.
There was the Covenant attack to get the artifact, which was which was a really great action scene. Like when the show has action scenes, it's good. And actually, getting back to your initial question, like, I like, what was I expecting? More human Covenant war stuff, less Master Chief family drama.
Right. There's just nothing but family drama. You came from this. We got you this, and unfortunately, your helmet's glued on. We can't do anything. I don't know what else was in there. It was just a bunch of nonsense that it didn't need to be there. If you want to add that stuff in and piss everybody off, that's fine. But give people what they want with a Halo movie or a Halo show. Give them the fights. Give them the Covenant versus Master Chief. Give them everything you had in that first 15 minutes of the very first show. Give them that. Give me that, and I'll be happy. And with the storyline, I'll be like, okay, I don't really get into this, but I like this. There will be points where I will make myself follow something just to get to where I want to be, unless it's just that bad.
I was thinking, and I can't say for certain if this is right, because maybe you guys know more than I do, but I feel like the people who liked Battlestar Galactica liked it because it was more of that kind of structure, where there was a setup, but the setup always led to some sort of big action sequence, and that was more or less the structure of the series. You know what?
That's I find that very accurate that you said that. This is very much I always found Battlestar Galactica the mixture between Star Wars and Star Trek, because it had its discovery and search and science, and then it had its like laser swords and space wizards, and you take those things and you mix them together.
All right.
I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, but what it boils down to is space wizards and laser swords.
Sure.
So you have Battlestar Galactica in that, and that's what I always thought of that. I could be completely off the mark because I haven't seen it since I was a kid or so. I didn't even watch the newer ones. But this is very.
I brought it up because like that seemed like it would have been a good template for this show, and they ran away from it. David, I'm going to go back to you for a sec, Ronnie, but David, go ahead, because I mentioned Battlestar Galactica, and you're like eyes crossed.
Yeah, well, as you might notice from here, there's a bit of a theme. Like
I don't know if you were familiar with the show.
Yes, I've got 2 Battlestars and a Viper here from the 2003 reboot. So yes, it's pretty much my favorite show ever. If someone said, "What do I think is the best like TV show ever made?" The 2003,
it's The Wire
reboot. Yeah, that is like my Wire, I guess you could say.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Battlestar, it took its premise, but it also used it to good dramatic effect. Like, yes, there were action scenes. There weren't tons of action scenes, but like the drama more focused on like the effects of like having your entire civilization destroyed. We've gone from a blossoming civilization of 12 planets plus to like a ragtag fleet of ships with only one military ship left, just fighting for our lives and what that does to people. That's sort of the ideas of like what do you have to do to survive and what cost that has on humans. Like it like the Spartan program, you could have gone that direction with like, we did these horrible things to these kids, but we needed a weapon that could save humanity, and the price of destroying these families and robbing these children of like normal lives, we think is worth it for the lives that they have saved.
Right.
And Battlestar kind of did that question. Like, we have a space liner that is acting erratically, and the Cylons keep finding us every 33 minutes. And it seems to coincide with whenever the ship jumps in. So is this ship compromised? Is there a tracking device? So we have to shoot this ship and kill all the people on it, which might still be alive, in order to save the whole fleet. What does that do to someone who has to pull the trigger on that?
Right.
And so on and so forth. And it kind of went into a lot of this. It did explore like what it is to be human, the morality of survival versus civilization, and so on and so forth. And it treated those topics with respect and acknowledging the gray area of it. The virtuous hero isn't always right, but neither is the person who is suggesting the more morally shady practical stuff. And good characters do bad things. Bad characters do good things sometimes. And it was a very interesting, very sort of human drama. And you could have taken elements of that and made that work with Halo, I think. But again, they didn't go that way.
That was my suggestion. That I think Battlestar Galactica, from what I knew of it, and I'm not nearly the aficionado that you are, would have worked as a template. Then, here's my problem. I'm going to go back to you in a second, Ronnie. But Halo for me. And it was why it was a slog for me to get through, and why I almost canceled this review, because I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. And more to the point, Halo absolutely broke me from wanting to do further television reviews. And the reason why I say that is it seems like whenever they're developing these shows, I don't want to just go back and like the critical drinker thing, like, oh, it's the message. But I do feel like outside of shows like maybe The Boys or The Orville, they always follow this really weird like thematic pattern, and they seem to want to accentuate the dramatic elements of it, almost to the point where like it feels like the show was made on the cheap. And I don't know what the budget for this thing was, but it feels like we need to fill the show up with a lot of talking and a lot of melodrama, and maybe you'll get an action sequence or two.
Yeah, my theory is I think we have writers that don't write sci-fi, and that kind of really frustrates me with a lot of sci-fi properties where, like we want this property because it has this built-in fan base. We go
Foundation. Remember when we reviewed Foundation? We had a very similar complaint of, my God, this is just endless talking, and it never, and everything is shot in a desert. That's another thing. Like everything is always either in a dark warehouse or in a desert. Nothing else exists in the future.
Most of the book is people talking. Like most of that story takes place in meeting rooms.
Well, fair.
We're talking about interesting stuff,
right?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to you, Ronnie, but I think that's my biggest problem with as I was watching the show was if you're not steeped in any of the lore and the stuff isn't really catching your interest. Like that's why I'm not weighing in a lot on the conversation. I had no fucking clue what was happening half the time. Everyone just seems sad. And I want to come back to something. This I wanted to comment on, but it was like I think the only interesting part of the show for me was Pablo Schreiber arguing with his AI, and outside of that, I couldn't follow what was happening half the time. And then when they finally got deep into you were stolen from your family, I'm like, but I don't care. You haven't
done that story before.
You not only that, but you haven't done anything to make Pablo Schreiber to me like a sympathetic enough character that I would care that he was taken from his family. Like, okay, I'm sorry that happened to you. That sucks. But you're not that interesting of a character for me to really like. Oh no, not you, Pablo Schreiber.
Yeah, like in the first level of the game, when you get to the end, it's all like get off the ship. The scene where like the Marines are trying to get into the escape pods, and like there's an explosion. One Marine is knocked down. He's on the floor, almost unconscious, and you see Chief. He's just like they're laying down, covering fire, mowing down Covenant. Like with one hand, he's like shooting at them all with like his assault rifle. With the other, he picks the Marine up off the floor, throws him into an escape pod, and keeps going. Like not only is he badass, but it shows you like this guy. He's taking care of his crewmates.
You get none of that from the show.
Yeah, and then like okay, this guy's a cool guy. Like I'm rooting for him.
Ronnie, we were all over you there. So go ahead and finish up what you were saying.
As far as what I was saying, I don't remember because I was listening to you guys. But you actually had a point that I wanted to hit too, because there was no reason to cheer for him.
Yeah,
I mean, like, okay, so you look at Finn in the Star Wars. Get off me, dog! You drooled all over my knee, my dog. Go lay down. You look at Finn, who has the exact same background as Master Chief. Finn was a sympathetic character in that because you actually started to like him. when you found out, yeah, they took me from my family and everything else. Oh man, well that sucks. Because he had some, he had some charisma. He had some, with Poe, and going to find, and seeing BB-8 and everything. With that, it was like, oh man, I can't believe that's really sucks. I mean, that's that's a sad background for him.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just like, yeah, it fits.
Yeah,
they need some, it fits. But it's just, I don't know. I guess I'm too used to playing the video games multiplayer rather than the single player with the story. I just, man, you had such a good formula for having, just an all-out war against aliens.
okay.
Go
ahead.
Falling skies.
I want to talk about. I mentioned it a few seconds ago, but I want to just touch on this, and then I'm pretty much done. It'll be last licks, then we'll get out of here. So much of this Halo television show is him arguing with the AI.
Yeah,
like I didn't even get where the AI thing came from, but I guess that's when you're playing the game, that's the computer talking to you to let you know, pull this gun, do this, do that.
Yeah,
but I get the functionality of it in the video game.
Yeah, she creates the lore, does the research, opens locked doors, and she gives you something to bounce off of. Because again, Master Chief doesn't talk a lot.
So my question is that a thing in the video game to where he has to where he doesn't want his own AI? That he had to learn to love his AI, because that's the other thing. So much of this story is dedicated to him rejecting this thing, and then by the end of it, it's like, okay, they learn to work together.
Yeah, there's Cortana and Chief they have more of a partnership. She wasn't this sort of sneaky thing designed to take over his brain or shut him off. It was more in the game, AIs are commonplace. They're all over the place. They're used in the fleet. Cortana is just a special advanced one developed by Halsey for the Spartan program. At the beginning of the first game, she's in the ship, and it was only when you evacuate the ship, then you get Cortana put in you, and then she's able to give you your briefing, your objectives, tell you what to do and whatnot. But yeah, the Chief and Cortana kind of have this,
she was helpful.
Yeah, she was helpful, and there was a sort of mutual respect between them. There's this kind of if you watch the gameplay trailer that they did it for E3 for Halo 2, there's a bit at the end of the game where Chief's surrounded by, or the level I should say, there's Chief's surrounded by elites, they all got their guns out, and he has one plasma grenade, and plasma grenades they stick to the people you throw them on, and he turns on the grenade, and you just hear Cortana go, "Bet you can't stick it," and he goes, "You're on," and he throws the grenade, and that's the end of the gameplay. And it's that kind of relationship where a little bit playful but very respectful and fun.
It's almost like you turn it on, it's it's AI, and she's kind of hot.
Oh, you should that's the game.
That's why in the game, she's kind of hot, and then she's very helpful. So like I said, she unlocks doors, she does this, she does that, she tells you where to go, and she gives you hints. That's what she was there for. Now she lives in all of your computers if you're a Windows owner.
Yeah.
But in this, it was almost like she was a nuisance, and she was there to regulate him instead of help him, and that was disappointing as well. I was like, oh man, I don't want that.
Yeah, even Cortana's miserable until episode 7 or 8.
All right, David, anything else about this show you want to talk about?
I wouldn't say I do think I should try and give some of the good points. We've already talked about how it was a bit of a tough job anyway, even for a great writer to sort of make something that works, but other than just nonstop action, in which case play the game. But I think the production design team did a great job. All the Halo stuff looked like it should. The armor, looked good, the weapons look good. The CG for most of the Covenant stuff and the way the elites and the Jackals and all the different units looked was, I thought, very well done. All the sound effects were the right sound effects. When the shields overload, you get the shield warning thing, and then you hear the charge sound. The people on the prop side of things did a really good job. And I thought when the action scenes did happen, I think the first one was a bit too kung fu-y, but after that, when you get into the artifact fight and the Spartan on Spartan duel when Halsey stages her coup, which I thought was actually part of the show where I actually did kind of get a bit interested in it. Like it's good stuff, and I wish there was more of that. We got more of seeing the Human Covenant War and the cost and the different aspects of that. I thought the final fight scene on whatever planet they were on that looked cheap. Like that was like we ran out of money. Yeah. So,
I think they legitimately ran out of money when they realized that they did such a good job on the production side of it. With the armor and everything else, and they're like, okay, we got to cut some stuff.
Yeah, but
let's take out all the cool action scenes. Let's add some stupid political stuff in, and all right, we're good.
I think we're taking writers that work better with dramas and getting them to write something sci-fi, and they don't really know how to write sci-fi. A lot of the new Star Trek shows have the same issue, and like if you're looking for like a good sci-fi show, watch the 2003 Battlestar series. Watch The Expanse. They're much better.
The Orville.
Yeah, the Orville. It's good.
I really like the Orville.
And if you want Halo stuff, watch Forward Unto Dawn or the Fall of Reach series they did on Netflix, or just play the game for 9 hours, or play the game for 9 hours.
Yeah.
All right, Ronnie. If you got nothing else, then we will call it for the evening. All right.
Yeah, play the game, have fun, do an old school LAN party.
Sounds great. All right. Well, tomorrow it'll be myself, David Wright, and Robert Winfrey talking Thor: Love and Thunder. I'm sure that won't be a complete disaster. And then I'm not doing any more live shows this week. However, I will have some re-airs because I'll be away for a couple of days. We'll have the Legend of Tarzan review we did a few years ago. We'll an on trial for the movie Inception by Chris Nolan. Then starting Sunday, we'll start fresh again. We'll have a triple feature with myself and Sean Comer. We'll be doing Studio 666, which is the Foo Fighters horror movie, Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, and Detroit Rock City. We'll be continuing on Monday. We'll be continuing our look at David Simon's great work, From the Corner to the Deuce. We'll actually be looking at The Corner, one of the most depressing shows I've ever watched. And then
More depressing than Halo?
Yes, quite.
Wow. That's saying something.
And then on Tuesday, myself, Jason Teasley, and Robert Winfrey will be reviewing Where the Crawdads Sing. And then on Thursday, I think this is like it's not the last, but it's the last time I'm going to be doing 3 and 4 shows in a week. When I come back from my vacation, I'll be down to 2 days a week. And we're ending it with myself and Alexis Hannah talking Ms. Marvel, which I just caught up on over the weekend. Myself, my daughter, and even my wife watched it. And we're 4 out of 6 episodes in, and we're very much enjoying Ms. Marvel. So I don't know how the Marvel fans are feeling about it, but I like it.
I think your daughter would like it.
Yeah, she's very much enjoying it.
Yeah.
All right, Ronnie. I know Dave doesn't have any plugs, but
No.
David will be back. David will be back for Strange New Worlds whenever we do that. So.
I think I'm also Love and Thunder.
Oh yeah, and Love and Thunder. Duh, you'll be here. You'll be here Tuesday.
Well, let's be honest. That's going to be Robert's show.
Yep. It's gonna be got a lot of this happening here. You know, it's gonna be a lot of there we go. All right, Ronnie, go ahead and do your plug. Let's get out of here.
I got a Twitch channel called Misfits and Miscreants. We play a bi-weekly game of Dungeons and Dragons. We're playing Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden right now. It's going really well. Got a good group of players. We've seen some drama in it, end game drama where we've got a character that died, and in real life the player had some other stuff he had to tend to. But we've got some cool stuff coming up. I've got some one shots. Hopefully they'll turn into long-standing games that of different systems, such as Call of Cthulhu and Kids on Bikes, things like that are going to be airing soon. But we play a lot of tabletop role-playing games. I do a lot of that, and then sometimes you'll see my big dumb head playing video games on there. And then sometimes I just sit and talk and paint minis. So if you see me doing that, just come in and talk to me. I answer questions about tabletop role-playing games, specifically D&D as well. So just come hang out with me. It's a lot of fun.
All right, folks. Thanks for joining us here on TV Party tonight. For David Wright and for Ronnie Adams, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.